Hello, Oilers fans. Austin here with the day after discussion episode of the Oilers 3-2 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes last night in overtime. The Oilers had a 2-0 lead heading to the third period. They completely crapped it, and they ended up losing. The Oilers have now won 2 of their first 7 games of the season. They fall to 2-4-1. We've got to talk about it. Now, day after discussion episodes are usually pretty long, 25 to 35 minutes. This one is going to be a bit more streamlined just because I don't feel like ranting about too many things. We know what a lot of the major issues are, but there are a few things I do want to talk about. Of course, if there are any topics that you want to skip to throughout the video, everything will be timestamped for you. And if you end up enjoying the video, just make sure you hit that like button. If you really like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not yet subscribed. Tons of Oilers content all season long, and hopefully this team starts to turn it around very soon. As I mentioned, the team lost 3-2 last night in overtime. They did outshoot Carolina by 1, 34-33. However, the high danger chances, the Oilers last night in all situations had 21 high danger looks against 15 against. That's just way too many for both teams. There was not a whole lot of proper defense going on in this game, but we will talk about that. Edmonton also was able to break through on the power play. Connor McDavid scored, so that was good to see. And if you look at the hitting stat on the left side of the screen, Edmonton, it feels like they average like 10 to 15 hits per game, if that. I don't know if the hitting stat is just not being tracked properly this year, and no matter what building the team is playing in, or if the Oilers truly are a very non-physical team. But I feel like this team needs to kick that up a little bit of a notch because the physicality, they're just... Everything's so perimeter right now. They're just letting players kind of walk around them all the time. And I would like to see a little bit more tenacity, a little bit more aggressiveness along the walls. That's just me, though. It's not why the team is not winning, but it's something I did want to point out before we discuss today's topics, which are what is defense, or what are defense, however you want to word that. We'll also talk a little bit about Evan Bouchard. I'm going to talk about Darnell Nurse. I'm going to talk about the Wave very briefly. The Wave is more, this is more discussing my thoughts of it last night. Gut check time, who we play next, and closing thoughts. Last night, the Oilers, their expected goals for at even strength was 42.96%, and their Corsi for was 44.23%. It was the first time this season that they really had poor possession metrics in terms of the expected goals for. You always want to be above that 50% line. If you're in that like 46, 47%, I would consider that still a pretty even game. But the Oilers, the high danger looks, even though they had more than Carolina, the high danger looks that they gave up were more dangerous. And, it's tough to ask Stuart Skinner to do what he did last night. Stuart Skinner, I thought, played phenomenal. He did have some puck luck. Carolina probably could have had about 6 or 7 goals, if I'm going to be honest, if they were able to bear down on some of the like wide open nets that they had, that they either just missed the net or fanned on a shot. But the one save that Skinner made last night, before I get into our topics here, where he channeled his inner Dominik Hasek. He's on the ice, he rolls around, he sprawls his arm, he makes a huge save, but then they give up a goal literally 3 seconds later because Mattias Janmark cannot get the puck out. Incredibly frustrating. I wanted better for Stuart Skinner last night. But we're going to talk about what is defense, what the hell was defense last night in that game for both teams, not just the Oilers, for both teams. Normally, I love these back and forth games, and I had a lot of people last night kind of talking to me on Twitter and in the comment section of my last video, being like, hey, you know what? Austin, it's fine. Let's relax. The game was incredibly exciting. One of the best games I've seen this year. I just don't agree with that. That was literally one of the most frustrating games I've watched all season. It's one of the most frustrating games I've watched in a long time. Not because the Oilers didn't have their looks, but because of how many looks they were giving up. Stuart Skinner was locked in. Why couldn't the team realize that they were getting a good game from Skinner and just try and keep Carolina to the perimeter? Just lock it down. All they had to do was just lock this thing down and continue to push on offense. But it's like they got into, I don't know if this was Carolina's game. This is not usually how Carolina plays either, by the way. If you're a Hurricanes fan, your team is usually a little bit more structured and a little bit more harder to break through the middle of the ice in the defensive zone to get those high danger looks against. But both teams, it's like they decided, you know what? Let's just throw defense out the window. There was a game earlier this season between Ottawa and Los Angeles. Ottawa ended up winning 8-7 in overtime. if it weren't for the goaltenders, Freddie Anderson on Carolina and Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers, that's exactly what this game would have looked like. And everyone would have been talking about, both teams' goaltending sucked, the defense sucked. But all I'm hearing today from a lot of fans is, oh, that was an exciting game. Oilers will get them next time. No, please, God, no. If Edmonton plays like that every night, they're going to lose 9 times out of 10. Entertaining in terms of, the crowd energy was good. And it is entertaining when both teams are getting chances, and it's fun to watch a goalie duel. I don't disagree with that. But the Oilers, they're already leaking defensively, and to put that effort in front of Stuart Skinner last night and expect to come away with the 2 points, I don't know. Maybe I'm being really harsh. Maybe I'm being way too harsh and too negative about that performance last night. I just really did not like how Edmonton played. The defense it's been atrocious. Just when I thought they were kind of turning things around, that Philly game, I thought they played pretty decent. I thought they were turning things around. I thought we were, on the upswing. They beat Nashville and held Nashville in check as well. But they've lost 2 straight to Dallas and now to Carolina. And these are good teams that they're losing to. So, Dallas and Carolina, in my opinion, are cup contenders. They are terrific teams. I'd like to see this team come out on top of one of these games sometimes, one of these games where maybe they don't quite deserve the win. Maybe they need a little bit of extra puck luck. I am shocked that the offense just can't seem to get things going right now. Like I'm talking about the defense, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about the offense too. They have no puck luck. They are getting PDO'd into the ground right now, and we know that's eventually going to turn around. We know that things will eventually regress back to normal, positively, that is, but right now it is incredibly frustrating. McDavid last night, he had both goals for Edmonton. Zach Hyman, I don't think will ever score another goal ever again. Same with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Same with Victor Arvidsson. I think these guys are going to finish the year with 0 goals. That's obviously a joke, but that's just the feeling right now. You can tell these guys are snake bit, especially Zach Hyman. Hyman had some fantastic opportunities last night. First period, he backhanded a puck away from an open net, 10 feet over the net. In the third period, he had a partial breakaway. He cuts to his left. He has Anderson beat, but then he just kind of backhands it right into Anderson. So we know the goals are going to come, and when they do, those floodgates are going to I feel bad for whatever team Edmonton is able to open the floodgates to, because it's going to be ugly, and they need to get it going, and it needs to happen much sooner rather than later. This team needs to be 500 by the end of October, so they need to win their next 3-4 games here and really, they have to be ready to go for November and beyond, because that's when you really start to grind away during the season. If this team is below 500 heading to November, if this team has any kind of record that's even remotely similar to that 2-9-1 start last season, because right now they're 2-4-1. If they lose their next 2 or 3 in regulation in a row, this team will not. And I'm telling you right now, and I may look stupid by the end of the season, and you're probably going to clip this, they will not be able to turn this ship around. It will be too difficult. This team is too old. They are too slow. They used so much energy making a cup final last year. If they continue to lose right now, this season is going to be over by middle of November. That's just the reality. So defense needs to pick this up right now. Speaking of defense, let's talk a little bit about Evan Bouchard. I don't talk a lot about Evan Bouchard. I haven't this season in a lot of the day after discussions, mostly because for the most part, he's doing the right things. His advanced metrics are phenomenal, some of the best on the entire team. However, the brain farts that he has, it's at least 1 per period. Last night, he was only on the ice for 3 high danger chances against. However, I did not really like his play overall, and this is not me singling him out. I think Troy Stecher played way worse. I think Travis Dermott played way worse than Evan Bouchard. I thought Darnell Nurse was worse than Evan Bouchard. This is just an observation, and I want to be fair in my criticism of players, because I do hammer on a lot of players. If you watch this channel a lot, you know who my usual scapegoats are. But for Evan Bouchard, for someone that is relied on for a lot of his offense, because we know defensively he can be shaky at times, despite the really strong possession metrics, I think he's one of those players where the eye test and the analytics test don't always seem to align, because when you watch Bouchard, he's not like an overpowering skater. He doesn't have like a crazy speed boost like Cale Makar does. When you watch him defensively, it does look like he's not physical, even though we know he is. We've seen it. We've seen him be physical. He is tough in the corners. But when the team's not winning and when the team's not producing offense, a lot of times people will hone in on him. He's just not getting enough towards the net, one, in terms of shots, and two, obviously he has not scored at all, nearly enough this season. I think he has 1 goal this year. So Evan Bouchard, if we need more offense from Bouchard, the breakouts from his own zone have been good. Transition play has been good. Neutral zone play has been good. But we are letting a little bit too much in his zone. There's too many players who are able to just kind of skate into Edmonton's zone when Bouchard is on the ice. Bouchard, his decision-making has been not where it needs to be, not quick enough, in my opinion. And on the power play as well, he's getting some shots, but they're not usually getting to the net. He is deferring a lot, and you can kind of tell that maybe there's some pressure there to try and perform like he did last season, because he will be signing a contract at some point. But if he continues to not put up the points right now, at least Edmonton can find a way to sign him for much cheaper than what was originally projected. I love Bouchard. I think he is one of, if not the best defenseman on this entire team for offense and defense, especially when you look at the analytics, and not everyone's into that, and I totally understand. But for Bouchard right now, it is not good enough, and I did want to discuss that. In overtime last night, it's hard to blame him, Draisaitl, and McDavid, because Knobloch played them for 3.5 out of the 5 minutes for some reason. But Evan Bouchard in that overtime was not very good, especially in that last minute. Just some of the decisions that he was making, where he was skating on the ice, I didn't really understand it. Right before the game winner, he looked like he was like flying out of the zone, and Draisaitl was the one that was playing defense. I don't know what happened there. Again, it's these brain farts that they need to just clamp down on a little bit harder. Next defenseman we're going to talk about is Darnell Nurse, because I find Darnell Nurse, he gets a lot of hate, and a lot of it is justified. A lot of it is overhated. Sometimes there are a lot of things that Darnell Nurse is blamed for where I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to, no. I'm someone that is incredibly difficult on Darnell Nurse. Every time he's on the ice, I am zeroed in. I know he's on the ice, and every little mistake is amplified, especially because of his price tag, because he's a leader in the locker room. He wears an A on his jersey. Last night, Darnell Nurse was terrible. However, in a more positive light with Nurse, playing with Travis Dermott this season, Darnell Nurse has an expected goals for percentage of 40, I think it was like 43 or 44%, but without Dermott this season, he's at like 52%. So we know that it's not quite Darnell Nurse on that pairing. We know Travis Dermott likely should not have been playing where he was. Asking Darnell Nurse, who one is struggling this season, in my opinion, to play his offside to make room for Travis Dermott, and then Dermott comes in and looks terrible. That's the game time goal for Carolina. Like, that's one of the most unacceptable goals I think I've ever seen. I don't know where Dermott was. I don't know why Janmark was the one who was back trying to defend that back door. Travis Dermott playing that left side made no sense to me. I did not like that the team took out Ty Emberson, but Darnell Nurse, you expect, okay, this is going to sound really harsh, but and we know the reality here. We know Darnell Nurse cannot carry a defense pair. I don't care. Just set the money aside for a second. Let's pretend he's not making $9.25 million. He cannot drive his own defense pair. He needs someone that can elevate him. The coaching staff should know by now that that is the case. So playing Travis Dermott with him and playing Dermott on his strong side and making Nurse play his offside, one, makes no sense. And two, asking Darnell Nurse to carry the load, as a lot of people would say, also a very unfair expectation. I don't care about the money. I don't care about that aspect. Darnell Nurse, the team needs to find a way to properly support him and what he is capable of, because what he's capable of is still good. It's still helpful. It helps the team win. But asking him to do too much. Last year, playing with Cody Ceci, he had to do everything because Cody Ceci was chaos in the defensive zone, for lack of a better term. So Darnell Nurse gets running around. And last night, you could tell Darnell Nurse was pretty uncomfortable on that right side. He just didn't look great. And it's too much to ask for someone that is already he's already someone that is like he's scapegoated a lot with this fan base. And it doesn't help when the coaching staff puts him in a position to not succeed. They need to find a way to start putting him in a position to succeed and maximize the value that he brings to this team. And unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet this season. The team still needs a second pair right D to lock things down. I like Ty Emberson a lot, but they scratched him for some reason. Not sure what that's about. So hopefully they're able to turn things around with Darnell Nurse and the rest of the season. Next up, we're going to quickly discuss the wave. I did discuss this last night. I didn't have as much hate as I thought I would for complaining about it. But in terms of why do I hate the wave so much? Why is this something that I always talk about? And every time I see the fans do the wave, I always do mention it in my videos, whether the team wins or loses. Number one, does the wave actually curse a team and make them lose? No. I understand that logically. That's not what happens. Two, is the wave harmful in any way to me or the players on the ice? Absolutely not. The wave is a harmless fan interaction that gets them, energized back into the game. I understand that. Three, am I too hard on the wave? Is this something that I need to just relax on and maybe if I don't even acknowledge that the wave is happening, did it ever actually happen? For the wave, moving forward, I think I'm going to lean into my hatred of the wave. We can make it into a meme. We can do some fun things with it. There were a few people on Twitter or X.com that, were tagging me when the fans were doing the wave, and it was really funny. Like, I like that type of interaction. So with the wave, I'm going to continue to lean into my hatred of it. That is the biggest curse. Don't do it in a 1-goal game. And there was a point during the playoffs. I think it was game 1 against the LA Kings. The Oilers had a massive lead. I can't remember what the score was, 5-2 or 6-2 in game 1. Whatever the score was in game 1, the Oilers blew out the Kings. And the fans started doing the wave late in the third period. And I was live streaming, and I had my beer, and I was like, you know what? Let the fans have fun. If Oilers fans are going to do the wave, this is the time to do it because it's a blowout. And not 5 seconds after I said that, the LA Kings ended up scoring. I think I have a clip of it somewhere, maybe in my YouTube Shorts section. I'll try and find it. It was like 5 seconds later, the Kings scored. And then I went absolutely ballistic. I said, you know what? No, ban the wave. Nobody's allowed to do the wave anymore. Because it seems like every time the fans do the wave, they do get scored against. Or they blow their lead or whatever the situation is. The wave obviously is not like something that affects me emotionally every day. However, I think something that is much more fun than the wave is watching my team win. So I'm going to continue to lean into my hatred of the wave. Every time every time fans do it, I am going to talk about it in my videos every single time, and we're gonna have some fun with it. All right, I'm gonna like twist it around a little bit, and we're gonna have fun. The wave is fun, right? Next up, it's gut check time. I kind of already touched on this earlier in this video. The Oilers are currently 2-4-1, and I did mention that they probably need to win the next few games here and get above 500, or at least be at 500 by the end of the month. Just taking a look at the calendar, they have 4 games left before the end of the month here, meaning that they need to win 3 of the next 4. They win 3 of the next 4. If it's all regulation, then they'll be 5-5-1, which will be fine to me. I don't think that will be too much of an issue. I think they can build off that. But they've got tough games. They're playing Pittsburgh Friday, who the Flames just beat, who, by the way, the Flames have not lost it in regulation for some reason. Is Calgary a cup favorite now? I want to know your thoughts. But Edmonton plays Pittsburgh. Then they play Detroit, which Detroit's possession metrics have been awful. Last night, they won a game 1-0 against the Islanders, and they only had 10 shots on goal. We've seen the Oilers win a game with 10 shots on goal in the Western Conference Finals, so you can't underestimate the Detroit Red Wings. And then they play the Columbus Blue Jackets on the 28th, which is the Monday. And then they play the Nashville Predators on Halloween. So those are the next 4 games for Edmonton, and they do need to find a way to win 3 of those 4, and they have to be in regulation. If the Oilers lose 1 or more in regulation, I will be not nearly as comfortable about this team for the rest of the season. They have it in them to go on big stretches. This is a streaky team. We've seen the Oilers be very streaky, and not just last season, but a couple years before that, even under Dave Tippett, Jay Woodcroft, Todd McClellan. They are a streaky team. We can't afford that this year. We need consistency more than streakiness. So gut check time for Edmonton. And as I mentioned, up next is against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I will be live streaming that game on Friday. I will be doing a live stream commentary here on my Austin Hockey YouTube channel, and I very much look forward to it. The live streams are always so much fun. They're very engaging. I love the live chat. Everyone that tunes in, we have so much fun. It's going to be a great game. I'm excited to see Sidney Crosby and Jesse Puljujärvi and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson. I'm excited to watch that game. I really am. And Edmonton seems to play Pittsburgh pretty well, at least in recent years. They seem to have Pittsburgh's number a little bit. So hopefully they can right the ship. Let's start turning the ship around. And McDavid versus Crosby on Friday. Hopefully that is the start of that. Everyone that tuned into this video, I truly appreciate it. I know it's not usually... it's not as long as they usually are. I do like to have these day after discussions be a pretty long episode. However, I figured last night I got a lot that I want to talk about out of the way. And today there's a few things that I wanted to hone in on. And obviously after the game against Pittsburgh, that will mark the 8-game mark of the season, meaning that I will do a full deep dive of this team, where they're at, and determine kind of, my projected path of where they're going. So we will have a deep dive of this team after the game on Friday, just going over all aspects of their game, their analytics and actual stats, and see if they can turn it around. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. If you liked this day after discussion episode, make sure you hit that like button. If you really liked it, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not yet subscribed. Daily Oilers content all the time here on Austin Hockey. I'm excited for the rest of the month. The last few games of October are coming, and let's see if they can turn the ship around. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Tell someone that you love them. That is the most important thing. And always fight like a kid. Always fight like Ben. Let's go, Oilers.